In this sixth video of the beginner's course for Amazon Sumerian, we're going to look how to import external assets and also then how to resize and adjust those assets. So in this video, we're going to learn about importing assets and resizing scale. So let's get started. All right, I'm jumping back into the scene that we have been building. And in the last video, we added a few lights to experiment. We turned off the default lights that came with this scene, and then we added a spotlight just to experiment with, which I will actually delete right now because I don't need it. But then we added a point light and point light 2. So and then you can actually see all these different lights floating around in our scene. These are our 2 point lights, and these are the directional lights that we've actually turned off. So that's what we did in our last video. In this video, we want to learn how to import some assets. So it's actually very simple. There's a few ways to do it. One is by importing, by clicking this video, by clicking this button. If you click the import files from your computer button, then you can go search for them. And another way you can do it is by dragging and dropping. Now, if you go into the assets that we provided at the very beginning of this course, there's also a link in this video to, or not in this video, but there's a link on our site here to find the assets that you need. One of them is the sphere that we're going to be using for this tutorial and also for this scene that we're building, this training simulator. And what it is, you'll find it as an FBX file that is called collision_sphere. So I'm just going to go ahead and drag that onto my scene. And if it's the first time doing this, you'll get this processing model notification. I'll just click OK. And then it lets me know that my model is ready. It does appear down here in our assets pack. And I'm going to collapse. I don't actually want this sky spheres pack. I'm going to delete that because we're not going to be using it anymore. And that'll delete all my sky spheres. Then also, going back to this collision sphere. So what we have is an asset pack called collision_sphere. What we want to do to get an entity into our scene is always drag the entity type onto our scene. Now, this may seem kind of obvious, but this is actually something that you're going to do over and over and over again whenever you are dragging anything from your assets library or an entity from your assets library, or from the import assets library into the assets panel and then into your canvas. What you're looking for is this hexagon icon right here. You can filter down to, and that's an entity type. And if I hover over it, it shows that that's an entity, hexagon. So when I'm looking for this collision sphere, if I click that button, then I see just the hexagon or the entity type, and I can drag that onto my scene. And then it will appear up here on the top of my entities panel, and you can see that it is also appearing or populating in my scene. Now, we got to make a few adjustments to this entity. If we expand the collision sphere, we'll see there's another one with a little bit longer name. It's actually just repeated, collision sphere, collision sphere. We actually don't want this top level one. We just need this child level entity. So I'm going to go ahead and drag that out from being nested and just drop it onto the beginner's course. So then we'll have 2 parent level entities. One of which, the one we want, has the geometry and material. The other one is, and it has the shorter name, all it has is a transform. That's the one we don't want. So I'm going to delete that. And then this collision sphere, I'm going to rename, so I have it selected. I go over here into the inspector panel. And under the name text box, I'm going to change it to game ball. All right, now, if I zoom in on it, you'll notice that it's really, really tiny. Can't even see it. Let's go open transform. You'll notice that it's 0.01, so it's 1% of the size we want it to be. Because we have uniform scale selected, all I need to do is just select one of these values in the scale and just turn it to 1, and there is our ball. Now we can see it a little bit better. It really doesn't matter where you place this. So I would just place it somewhere above your table towards the edge. So somewhere over here. And I'm just using the translation handles to get it there. And we want it to be, we are going to add some components on this to make it fall. So we want to make sure it falls onto, and in the center of this, the center of this table. All right, so there we go. We have our game ball, and it'll be approximately like this big. And when you're in VR, that's the scale we're talking about here. We are going to change the color of it, but we don't need to do that at the moment. So that's how you import assets into your library. Again, there's two ways to do it. You can click the import button, and then you can open anything that is on your computer and add that into your assets library. Or you can drag and drop. And once you are in the assets library, you're looking for this hexagon icon or the entity type that is, an entity. And then you drag that onto your canvas. So if we toggle all, see there's a bunch of different asset types, but the one we want is always this hexagon icon. That's how you get external objects and assets into your scene. In the next video, we're going to add some physics capabilities to our scene so that the ball can fall to the ground or fall to the table and land on the table and then roll off. So that'll involve adding two different components, the collider and the rigid body, and that's what we're going to cover in our next video. So I hope you join us.